What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be reviewing the newest addition to my Gemini Jets collection and a relatively new Gemini Jets model release, and that is the 1:400 scale USAir McDonnell MD-82. So this is a model that I got just 2 weeks ago during my trip to Miami, Florida. I got this model at one of the only 3 AirplaneShop locations in the US. It was actually my first time visiting an airplane shop, and for those who have been to an airplane shop before, it was definitely a great experience getting to see all of the large variety of aircraft models, ranging from Gemini Jets, Herpa to Darren, all displayed throughout the store. So if you are ever in the Miami area, I would highly suggest checking out the AirplaneShop Miami. It is located right outside of Miami International Airport, and the exact location and further details about the airplane shop are posted in the description of this video. So before I get into the review of this model, I wanted to give a shout out to JL Aviation, who I actually met at the airplane shop and also helped me ring this model up when I had purchased it. So be sure to check out his channel for some really great trip reports and also Gemini Jets model reviews. The link to his channel is posted in the description of this video as well. So this model is a relatively new 2023 Gemini Jets model release that is actually still being produced and can be found both online and in person in stores such as the airplane shop for around between $40 to $60. When I got this model, it was around $55, which it says right there on the price tag, sticker on top of the box displayed right there. This model can be purchased for various prices depending on which website you buy on. If you buy online or in person, it would be around for $55, like with the price that I got it at. I'm pretty sure this model is still being produced, and it is one of several other USAir Gemini Jets models that have been produced over time, with some others being the 737-300 and 767-200. I'm pretty sure there is a 1 to 200 scale version of this exact USAir MD-82 Gemini Jets model that, of course, would be more expensive, but I'm pretty sure it is still being produced as well. So for those who don't know, USAir was a major US airline that lasted from 1937 until 2015. They started out in 1937 as All American Aviation and eventually rebranded to Allegheny Airlines in 1953. That lasted for 26 years until they rebranded to USAir in 1979 and then later became known as US Airways in 1997. US Airways lasted until 2015 when they eventually merged with American Airlines to form what is now the largest airline in the world. At the time USAir was around, they had a fleet of 76 DC-9 aircraft and 37 MD-80 aircraft. Unfortunately, I don't really know how many of those were MD-82s, but I really just know that they had 37 MD-80 aircrafts in their fleet. I'm not sure if they had any others. They might have only had the MD-82 in their fleet, but that's pretty much all the information that I know about that. So like every kind of Gemini Jets model, this model is based off of an actual USAir MD-82 with a registration number November 824 Uniform Sierra. So before I get into any information about that actual aircraft, I do want to go over the whole boxer image because some of the information about that particular aircraft is displayed in the inside portion of the box. So starting off here for the review of the outside of the box. As you can see on the front, there is the usual Gemini Jets box art logo design with the blue, navy blue background for their Gemini Jets and the Gemini Jets logo up at the top. They have their slogan, "Made for Collectors by Collectors," displayed in the top right corner with the USAir MD-82 box art image displayed there right there on the front. Then further down to the bottom right hand corner, there is a McDonnell Douglas MD-82 aircraft displayed there with the nice classic retro USAir in the red and kind of burgundy coloring displayed there with kind of that white background for it. Then there is a 1:400 scale die-cast model aircraft, and pretty much there is just the same information, Gemini Jets stuff there with the boxer image and the aircraft displayed on each sides, on the left and right sides of the box. On the bottom, there's some more information about Gemini Jets with the high quality, superior quality, all the quality information about the Gemini Jets models, 1:400 scale die-cast model. And then up at the top, there is the price tag sticker again, which I got it for $55, and all the information about that for purchasing with all the barcodes and the Gemini Jet information displayed there. So on the inside of the box, there is all the information posted for this exact aircraft and the information about the MD-80. So like I just said before, the registration number for this USAir MD-82 is November 824 Uniform Sierra. So there is a little bit of information posted about the aircraft here, like the first flight being on December 17th, 1982, and then eventually being delivered to USAir on April 9th, 1988. But I did do some extra research on this exact plane. So When it was first delivered in 1982, really more 1983 since it was December when it had its first flight. It was first delivered in January of 1983 and first went to PSA, Pacific Southwest Airlines, and flew with that airline until 1988, April 9th, when it had officially went to USAir. So when I was researching it, it did say that it was under ownership of US Airways in 1997, which I believe it was probably in there. US Airways ownership for around 5 years, because it really just is a big gap until 2002 when the aircraft had eventually went to AirJTIC. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but it flew with that airline as a different registration number. The registration number was changed to 9A-CBC, and it flew with that airline until March 16th, 2007, when the airline had ceased operations. So since then, the MD-82 has most likely since been scrapped. I have not seen any other information about it posted since throughout the research that I tried doing on this aircraft. So the other information that's posted, displayed here in the box, is information about the MD-80. So pretty much just to sum it all up, the MD-80 was pretty much built as a successor for the DC-9. When the DC-9 was introduced in the 1960s and produced throughout the 60s, 70s, and the 80s, it was a very successful airliner at the time that it was produced. It was definitely one of the most successful airliners that in aviation history, and the MD-80, when they had produced it, they wanted a pretty much modified version of the DC-9, one that was more efficient, modernized, and pretty much could hold more passengers. So that's where the design for the MD-80 came in. It was first launched, the program was first launched in 1977, originally as the DC-9-80, as displayed right there. And pretty much since then, they had introduced several different versions of the MD-80, such as the MD-81, MD-82, which were the first versions, and then they eventually introduced the MD-83, MD-87, MD-88, and then eventually into the MD-90. The MD-90 was supposed to be a better version and even more modernized version of the MD-80, but I'm not sure how successful it was because I haven't seen many of them flying today. Many of the MD-80s that are still flying, I believe, are MD-83s and several MD-82s. But since the MD-82, when it was first launched in 1977, it has also become a very successful airliner over the years, and unfortunately it definitely has phased out now. I believe the last ones were produced in the early 2000s and possibly late 90s, so they definitely have been phased out now. And Delta was one of the very last major U.S. airlines to actually operate them. They still do operate the MD-95, also known as the 717. Personally, one of my favorite aircrafts, as I just posted in one of my most recent trip reports, that I had flown on as my connecting flight to Atlanta throughout my Miami trip. So since then, though, the MD-80 has definitely become a lot more difficult to see. So I believe there really only are several airlines in the U.S. that operate them. One of the most well-known ones and major ones is World Atlantic. They operate quite a few MD-83 aircraft, and when I went to Miami recently, that was actually my very first time getting to see an MD-80. A lot of people don't believe me whenever I say that, but specifically just because I had started my pretty much getting into aviation in 2019 and really during COVID in 2020, and by that time Delta and American, which were the only airlines that flew to Charlotte, my home airport, they had already retired the MD-80, so I already had missed out on my chances of seeing those, and there just was never any other opportunity to see an MD-80 fly into Charlotte since then. So when I went to Miami 2 weeks ago, that was my very first time getting to see both an MD-82 and an MD-83 from Red Air, the Red Air MD-82, and then the World Atlantic MD-83s. So it was really great getting to see those aircraft in Miami up close and in person for the first time, and getting to hear them as they were taking off and landing. So that reason is also leads me to why exactly I had purchased this model to begin with. So for those who also don't know about USAir originally, when they were rebranded from Allegheny Airlines to USAir in 1979, their main hub was based in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I wanted to get a model that could have some sort of significance for that reason, and also because since this model was an MD-80, it kind of could act as a souvenir from when I saw my very first MD-80 in person. When I had gotten this model, this was the only one that was actually in stock at the very bottom shelf that I had seen it, so I was really glad to be able to find this model and get it. Also because this model has really nice chrome livery displayed there, as I'll get into when I get into the review of this model. So going back to the inside portion of the box, the other details that are displayed here. So Here they have the other information, not just about this exact aircraft, but just for the MD-82 in general. So it has the livery that is displayed there. The livery for this model is, of course, USAir. Aircraft type, MD-82, serial number 49143. The line number, this was the 1095th DC-9 or MD-80 that was produced. Registration number, again, November 824 Uniform Sierra. The engines on this aircraft are they are 2X PW-JT8D-217C. First flight, again, December 17th, 1982. Delivery date, April 9th, 1988. The total max takeoff weight is 160,000 pounds with a cruising speed at 542 miles per hour, range at 2,933 miles, and the seating could fit up to 143 between the mixed class. The length of the aircraft is 147 feet and 8 inches, with the height being 26 feet and 7 inches, and then the wingspan being 107 feet and 8 inches. So that pretty much is all the information about the aircraft, box art, image, design, why I bought it, any information about this model that there is. So now for the review of the model, I decided to put it up on my 1 to 400 scale model stand right here, just to make it a little bit easier to kind of move around and maneuver throughout the review portion. So starting off here at the front of the plane, you have the iconic DC-9 nose that was used throughout the DC-9 MD-80 and on the 717. The usual nose cone right there and cockpit that has the eyebrow windows displayed there with the visible window wipers that Gemini Jets included as part of their logo design. You have the white nose cone, and on top of that is where the livery design starts for the kind of reddish orange stripe that goes from all the way the nose all the way to along the back portion of the plane along through the tail. Behind the cockpit, you have the very first cabin door displayed there, and then the livery kind of coloring design changes from the reddish orange into more of the red coloring, and above that is the all the cabin windows that are displayed throughout the entire part of the fuselage with the USAir logo displayed up on the top. You have the red coloring, the same red that is displayed right below it, and then for the air portion of the logo is more in that burgundy coloring, which you can see starts down here more towards the center portion of the fuselage that goes from that red into the more burgundy coloring. You have some extra details displayed right there, and then the more emergency door plugs displayed in the center above the wings. And then the registration number and American flag displayed on the back portion near the rear of the fuselage. You have the registration number, which again is November 824 Uniform Sierra. And then you have the classic MD-80 DC-9 engines displayed right there and the windows that go along behind them. And then there is the USAir tail art design with all 3 colors that are used in the livery design, with the orange, the slightly darker red, and then the more burgundy coloring displayed there, and then the T-tail horizontal stabilizers displayed there up at the top as well. So on the wings, you also have some other details displayed there. You have the emergency evacuation arrows and stuff that are displayed there, and all of the other information details for the wing flaps, and really great design there. You have the MD-80 kind of wingtip design right there that kind of juts out at the tip of the wings, and then on the bottom portion of the plane, once I get off the stand, you have the Gemini Jets logo, the hole for the model stand, and then some of the information details for the landing gear. Really nice, sturdy landing gear on this really small Gemini Jets model. Yeah, definitely got to be careful on models like these because the landing gear can be somewhat fragile. I did have to fix the nose gear because I believe when I got it, it was more of a defective Gemini Jets model, and the nose gear had pretty much just fallen right out, so I kind of had to fix that. But I was able to glue it, and now it is perfectly fine. Another thing with this model I forgot to mention is that one of the wings actually did fall off. It was really loose, and I don't think the glue when it was originally built and manufactured was really good, so it kind of wore out. So I did have to glue it, but the model is pretty much perfectly fine now, and you can't even tell that there was those original issues with it. So yeah, the USAir tail is definitely really nice design. It's something you have to look closely at because you don't really notice this, especially on these models since these planes don't exist anymore. But there really is some nice details there between the orange, the kind of color difference there between the orange, red, and then more burgundy coloring there. I really like how they incorporated the burgundy coloring on the engines as well to incorporate that stripe that goes along throughout the rest of the plane. And it's really nice details and stuff displayed there on the wings to incorporate that original MD-80 design and look. And of course, out of the entire fuselage, you can't forget the iconic bare metal chrome livery displayed throughout the entire portion of the fuselage. I really wish the airlines would bring this livery back. I believe on some of the newer aircraft, like on the 737 MAXs, this livery can't be used for some reason. From what I've heard, I'm not sure why, but I don't think this livery can really be used anymore. It's not common on many of them. But MD-80s, it still can be used on more classic aircraft. This livery can still be used. There are several World Atlantic MD-80s that still have the nice chrome livery on it because they were former American Airlines MD-80s. So, but I definitely think this livery should be brought back because the chrome livery was such a nice livery to be used on throughout a large portion of between the 1950s all the way until the 2000s. So, I definitely enjoyed seeing them on American Airlines aircraft. So, I think Gemini Jets did a really great job with painting this model. I think they did a really good job with incorporating that bare metal chrome livery design there. It's not too reflective because, so that way you can actually see all the details without getting too close and then just reflecting everything. But it still does have that really nice reflective shine to it and the lighting. And when you do it close, you can see the nice reflective detail on the livery design as well. And then, of course, for the last part of the review of this model, you obviously have the differences between the left and right side of the plane. So, like when I had reviewed before, I had just reviewed the right side. The left side is where they have their main cabin door displayed right there. I believe the other side is more just for an emergency. This one, you have the first main cabin door displayed right there behind the cockpit, and then you also have the really nice details displayed for where the staircase comes out right below that. I'm not sure if that is supposed to be the emergency side, but I also know the MD-80s were equipped with a built-in staircase that could have to board the aircraft. It was definitely used in places like Hawaii, where they didn't have jet bridges, so you had to walk out to the plane. They had these stairs already incorporated into the aircraft, which I believe is what that is right there. Some other details along the undercarriage portion of the plane. Really nice details displayed there. And then on the back portion, you have the rear cabin door that is kind of right there by the engine. I'm not sure how this would be if you're actually flying on the plane, because obviously if I'm flying on the MD-80, I'd like to sit near the engine to hear the nice the classic sounds of the MD-80 engines, but I definitely would not recommend sitting on the left side because you got the cabin door right there and it kind of would block everything. And these three windows right here under the registration number will kind of be a little too close to the engine because you still want to get some nice views of the wing and stuff. But yeah, the left side would probably be much more of a better option for flying on. The right side would be a much more better option for flying on this particular aircraft. So that pretty much is all the review for this model and the history behind USAir and this particular aircraft that it was produced as. So this is definitely a Gemini Jets model that I would recommend that all collectors should have in their collection. It's such a nice Gemini Jets model, and considering that it is a really new release and is still being produced and is pretty much easily accessible, I definitely think collectors should get it while they have a chance and add it to their collection because it's such a nicely designed model, and Gemini Jets did a really great job with the design of the livery design and the details on it as well. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please remember to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what your guys' opinions are on this particular model and if you have it in your collection yet. And I will see you all in the next video.